video, we're going to explore the personal archetype of the hero, the archetype of the heroine. And as with all of the archetypes, these energies have the power to be able to move matter. The archetype of the hero is an entry point for almost supernatural or superhuman type gifts, type energy, type power. We can easily think of situations where the unexpected hero runs into the burning building to retrieve the family pet or the child or grandma or someone caught in the fire. We can think of stories. I can think of a story from my childhood where a car rolled onto a child, and the mother suddenly had superhuman strength and was able to lift the car from the child. And so this is how the energy can move through our anatomy to give us this superhuman type strength. And so when we think of the superheroes in our movies and in our comic books, we can think about, not only we think about their garb, their costumes, but we also think about the extra special technologies that they have, or the supernatural strength or the supernatural ability to be able to see or hear or become invisible or to become large or strong or whatever it is. And so the heroes of antiquity were somewhere between human beings and gods. Perhaps they were a hybrid being who still had the human fallibility, but at the same time presented superhuman type strength, or were supernatural in some way. So how does this apply then to our lives? How can we discern or ascertain whether the hero archetype is a member, is part of our personal round table of archetypes? So the hero archetype comes with a feeling of adventure, even if the hero's journey might have the trajectory of there being a fairly reluctant hero, where the individual wants to kind of keep the head down, stay in the background, not get involved, but the situation calls for their special gift, their special unique way of being able to come in and make right what is wrong, or to use their influence to improve the situation in some way. And so often the language for the hero is that they save the day, they save the company, they save the damsel, they save the kitten, they save the child. And so with that, there might be this feeling that I need to use my life force and my skills to save the day, to improve upon that which needs improving for the greater good. And that's where I get my sense of purpose. And so in the lowest expression, the hero can put itself in situations where it's wanting to save the day in order to feel important, or to feel validated, or to have a sense of belonging, to feel like their life matters. In the highest expression of the hero, it's purely divine inspiration, where their unique gifts, their unique strengths are being used by God in specific situations, and it's like a call. So the inspired thought comes in, there may or may not be thoughts about it, but pure action takes place. So what can often show up too is that in that situation where the inspired thought comes in, and there's this inner message that, yes, I am the one that has to show up to use my life force to take this necessary action. However, that there's this inner willfulness or an inner stubbornness that has to have it going in their way. So oftentimes the hero has a, has a requisite sidekick. And oftentimes in our storytelling, the sidekick is quite quietly wise. And our hero doesn't necessarily heed the sidekick's wisdom or assistance. And so there's this necessary trajectory of learning through that experience. And so oftentimes with the hero story, there's this there's an opportunity for humility. And so from that point of view, the hero might not necessarily, as I was alluding to before, begin the story as a hero. The hero might come out of the reluctant hero. So if we were watching the movie, we might see that, oh yes, they're set up. They're the perfect one to play this perfect part in this particular situation. There's nobody else who could do it the way that they could do it. But we watch them not taking the call. We watch them distracting themselves. We watch them messing up. So they don't, what I'm getting at is that the hero doesn't necessarily start off with the hero's sense of authority. It's not like they're necessarily recognized for that. However, as they continue and as they meet these opportunities for humility, as they meet themselves, their own willfulness, their own stubbornness, and when they surrender to the cause or they surrender to divine will, then they earn their stripes as the hero and are recognized as such because it shows up without any kind of ego or agenda. So the lowest expression of the hero is when it shows up in order for the return to be a sense of identity or a sense of importance, a sense of purpose. Whereas the highest expression is just that simply we're showing up to be of service to the divine because we have the unique superpowers, the unique gifts in order to play that part. And again, the part that they're playing is to somehow make the situation better, to save the day. So there's this paradox. There's strength, but there's also a stubbornness and even a reticence. There is mental clarity, mental acuity, and at the same time, there is also a willfulness. The archetype of the hero, as you can probably feel out, also includes the liberator, the defender, the God, as we alluded to, that the early heroes were considered superhuman, possibly even hybrids. And so, we can think of Hercules and things like that. And also there is the paradox too of receiving this sense of importance through the heroic deed. At the same time, it can also be an archetype of sacrifice similar to the archetype of the martyr. Because in order for us to show up in such a big way to save the day, that kind of energy often means that something else gets sacrificed. Not necessarily, but just something to notice. And so ultimately we are all on a hero's journey because we are the hero in our own story, in the storybook of our lives. And the hero's journey really is a journey inward and back home to the divine, to divine grace, to know ourselves as a divine expression, a unique expression of God's grace as this in the human realm, in the human story, in human form. And I think all of us at some time in our lives would want to experience what it is to be somebody's hero, your child's hero, your sibling's hero, your parents' hero, your friend's hero. At some point, we all want to experience what that feels like for somebody to say, "No, you're my hero." So it's a fun one. But just again, remember that the archetype of the hero inherently comes with it this feeling of adventure and being put into situations that you probably wouldn't ordinarily put yourself in, but you've been put in these situations in order for your special superpowers to be utilized again for the betterment of that situation, to save the day. And so if this makes sense to you, if this resonates with you, if this inspires you, please put a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts or your experiences, your observations. And of course, if there's another archetype, a personal archetype that you would like me to explore next, please put that in the comments as well. And I'll continue going through the different archetypes that are showing up in our world now. All right, so until next time, thank you for watching.